I got hit with a strike.
So,
and you know what's hilarious about the whole thing? It's always the stuff that is like right on the money. They're gonna give Evola the credit and say he's a right-wing reactionary, right? He's a leftist. He's literally the crazy uncle that Mussolini had to basically say, "Come on, Vatican, get with the fucking program." If you want to follow me on Twitter. Okay, Twitter link is in the description. At the same time, or will be in the description soon after. So Tick. Like I really do feel like we're getting into the weird part of like we're in like season 3. Well, actually, we are in season 3. This is probably the mid-season finale of season 3 of the Digital Renegade Podcast, right? Now we're all converging on the same talking point. It's very much like in the let's say the 4th or 5th season of Game of Thrones when you started realizing the White Walkers were the real threat. Those freaking New Agers, New Cagers, the Satanists, the Platonists, the pagans, they're the real enemy. They're the real racists. Here you
go. I think James Lindsay had a lot to do with that too.
James Lindsay, Tick History. I'm trying to think of a bunch of other people that are figuring it out. That we are dealing with Gnostics. We are dealing with Gnostics.
You're kind of hinting at it with the whole satanic connection with the alt-right.
Yes, and it's sort of like we're all going to meet the final boss at the very same time. So like we're it's like a battle royale. So like we have Team Dashing, Team James, and Team Tick. Tick History, Gnosticism. Behold the viewing glow. They basically try to create their own version of Christianity that's basically Gnostic.
Well, technically, it's kind of when I first heard about this like years ago. Everyone's like, "Oh, the Nazis are Christian." Yeah, it's a Christian that's amenable to Nazi state propaganda, kind of like what China does with Christianity. But it turns out the actual religion of the Nazis, it's not Christian at all.
And then, of course, Julius Evola is like writing fan fiction. What they're talking about, it really is like Tolkien fan fiction.
Oh, and I kind of it's like Scientology fan fiction.
I grew up with like Stargate SG-1, where we're very, very skeptical of this type of crap. We're skeptical. Like these guys could be a fucking. They could be a villain in a freaking RPG. Okay, the Thule Society, the resurrected like Hydra almost or Cobra.
Understand Hitler and National Socialism. We need to go back in time much further.
I mean, James Lindsay has already been making these connections between Gnosticism and Marxism, and so since Hitler is directly inspired by Marx, it makes sense that he would carry that over too.
Yep.
In the 20th century. In fact, we need to go back further than the written record. However, before we go there, first I'm going to take you back to medieval Italy to meet an Italian monk called Joachim of Flora. In the mid-1100s, Joachim read the Bible and decided to reinterpret it. He believed that the Trinity of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit symbolized the 3 stages of history. The first period was the Father, which was the time before Jesus came along. The second period was the Son, which is when Jesus appeared. And then the third age was the Holy Spirit. This, he said, would begin in 1260 because why not? Yep. And a leader, Abraham, Christ, and a duke from Babylon, apparently. And a prophet was able to predict, through divine revelation, that the third age would soon come. Joachim, of course, would be this special prophet. Joachim said that he would lead a priestly brotherhood who would have the Holy Spirit of God descend into them from the heavens. With this divine revelation, they would transform into new men and usher in the new age.
It really is like a JRPG at this point. We have the chaos factions in the east. They're being fought off by Satanists, satanic neo-Nazis, right?
Embrace the idea of a community of spirituality, where they would all live together without the need for institutional authority, aka the state. And Christ would come back to earth and lead this community for 1,000 years, just like it says in the Bible. Rather than dying and going to heaven, it would be a heaven on earth. A third Rome, if you will. Joachim of Flora got his ideas from previous scholars, which he translated.
Luke. The Third Rome. You heard about the people who talk about the Third Rome, right? How Russia is supposedly the Third Rome. How Dugan talks about that shit.
I've never really heard of a Third Rome, but I have heard of a Third Reich.
The Third Rome. Well, yeah, because we was Kaisers and shit, right?
Of course.
We
was Aryans and stuff.
we was Superman and shit. We were Kryptonian until the
it's all the same. It's all the same. Oh my god.
It really is. It really is. Time is a flat circle. All this has happened before, and all this will happen again. So say we all.
And the skepticism helped rush it in because they thought, hey, we don't have English language for spiritual. We don't have no spiritual language anymore thanks to secularism.
For the people here who don't know who Dugin is. There is one more thing very important that needs to be said, that in 2002, the Russian Orthodox Church has issued a document condemning his doctrine. So in 2002, Dugin was described by this document. There is a magazine about sects. It's meant to warn people against occultist groups and sects that are dangerous. And there was this document dedicated to Dugin in 2002, where Dugin is described as satanic. And that there are quotes. It's a very serious document, very well done by theologians. And they quote works of Dugin in which he describes himself as admirer, as a disciple of Aleister Crowley. On the other hand, he is also a disciple of Renegade Podcast, which is a group of some kind of Gnostic or occultist
Yep,
Islamic,
Gnostics. Yep.
tendency.
Yep.
Dugin is very close to Freemasonry, and he is apologetic of even of Nazism. So he wants to join the three things. The third Rome, which is
Third Rome.
Orthodox, but in the sense that Dugin understands by Orthodoxy. Third Rome, Third Reich, and Third International. So he
boy. So you see, again, all this has happened before, and all of it is happening again, Luke. We have these utopian motherfuckers who want to have that 1,000-year rule, and they're basically trying to do whatever they can to get there.
Mm-hmm.
They see themselves as the Third Rome, the Third Reich, or whatever the hell it might be. And I really do believe that this is the great war of our time.
And their ideas were influential in the underground secret societies of the time until they came to surface in the 12th and 13th centuries. Of course, the ideas go much further back than that. But you should also note the four elements of Joachim Flora's ideas, which are still floating around to this day. The first being that there were three stages of history, like what Hegel, Hitler, and Marx laid out: primitive communism, class society, and then final communism. You also have the First Reich, the Second Reich, and the Third Reich. The second element is that there will be a leader for each stage. The third being that a prophet would be able to predict the coming of the Third Age, just like Hegel, Marx, and Hitler did. And the fourth element being that there would be a select brotherhood who were touched by the Spirit of God and were on this mission to found a heaven on earth that would last for 1,000 years. To be sure,
the Brahmin. To take people, the Brahmin, right? The Brahmin, the Kali Yuga, and all the rest of the shit. No, that's all
in
good.
Germany through the Anabaptist wing of the Reformation and through the Johannine Christianity of Victor, Hegel, and Schelling. None of this is coincidence, none of this is a happy accident. Joachim Flora was the first to come up with the idea of the three stages of history, but he certainly wasn't the last, and his other ideas can be traced back to the origins of Christianity, the Old Testament, and even prehistory, all of which we'll get to in a second. My point here is to introduce the idea that National Socialism, Marxism, and many of these other religions are nothing new. They are merely a new spin on an old religion that spans back to the dawn of history. There is a continuation of ideas from ancient Egypt and Assyria all the way up to Marx and Hitler.
Tradition.
It has
You
evolved
could
over time, and
argue
it's not
the tradition.
And there's where the Dugin comes in, the traditionalism, that's where it comes in.
Well, think about it. You have himself calling himself Third Rome. He's hanging out with fucking people like Evola. He's interested in the Nazis and the occult shit. These guys quite literally are like fucking Hydra. They're like fucking Hydra in this regard. They are affecting people.
But when I had two more Coffin's head take two more tickets place.
Anyhow, Luke, we're gonna just end it here. We're gonna see how this plays out. Luke, final thoughts?
Oh, there's so much this I would like to say. It's like there's because everything is converging so well, and it's almost like, like.
Well,
and I wish I could have the words to articulate this, but it's just like, oh, the old wars are the new wars, and the new news just old. Like it's just what Malcolm, not Malcolm. I don't think it was Malcolm Muggeridge who said this, but it was someone who said new news, just old news happening in new people.
Yep, I would say all this has happened before, and all of it will happen again, or it doesn't have to happen again. We could literally stop it before it happens. We could end this cycle of apostasy.
And the real question is, how do we engage with it? How do we fight it? How do we combat it?
Well,
because I'm oblivious.
We may talk about that later on. It's solutions against this type of degeneracy, because it is degeneracy. It's pagan degeneracy.
Mm-hmm.
Anyhow, ladies and gentlemen, be good to one another. Take care of one another. Remember, saving the West is a side quest. This is the Digital Renegade Podcast.